Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to the Bottom Line Show. Thanks for joining us here.
Good morning.
How's it going, brother?
Doing good, man. Got my boys backing me up in the background, man. Snuck and back their way into the playoffs.
So, yeah, we had a discussion last week, and
Yeah,
it came to fruition. Ohio State is officially headed to the college football playoff
and you was
as the
hating
number
on them,
four
man.
seed going into play Georgia. Now, here's the thing: they're playing Georgia. I know you talked about this. It's in the Peach Bowl. And where's the Peach Bowl held? The Peach Bowl, of course, is held in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hmm.
So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Um, but we will have an opportunity to talk about that more. And, Jackson Smith Njingba is out. I'm mispronouncing his last name, but
And Jigba,
um,
yeah, that's right.
I'm not.
That's all right.
Uh, he apparently is out for the game, which is going to hurt. He's one
But
of
he's
our
been out
talented
all
wide
he's been out all
receivers.
season though. He's been out
Yeah, they
just about
expected him
most
back
of the
though for
season.
the last one.
Yeah, but he's been hurt. So preserve his body, man. It ain't worth it.
So we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about that. I mean, I like their chances. Ohio State's a talented team, and Georgia has the swag of being defending champions,
Yeah,
playing basically home games. So we'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
I know
man.
Ohio State travels well, so there'll be a
Yeah,
lot of Buckeye fans in attendance on that New Year's
yeah,
Eve
yeah,
here at the end of the month.
yeah. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Good morning. We got a really hot show today. We got a lot of content to cover. We're gonna try to knock this out in an hour today.
There was a
But
lot of things happening this week. A lot of things happening
yeah,
this week.
hmm yeah, we got Kristen Sinema. She leads the Democratic Party. Says she's gonna be an independent, and that's one of our topics there.
Right on the heels of Warnock winning in Georgia,
Hmm
by the way. So
Then we got the video of Brittany Griner and Victor Bout and their swap. I just call it the swap. That's gonna be the hashtag the
you know
swap. You
the
know?
swap. I want to get to that today for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
'Cause it's just kind of it's very interesting to me. Very interesting
yeah,
to me, and yeah,
yeah.
I have lots to say about that. So
Yep, and then we got U.S. journalist Grant Wall. He died. I think it was yesterday. He died. So he fell back in his chair and could
right
be
in the middle of a
resuscitated.
match, right in the
Yeah.
middle as he was
So
covering the match, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
he's on radio or TV covering the match.
yeah, and just
I mean,
died.
can you imagine
So
that?
yeah,
And
that's rough,
so
man.
this
It hit a
guy's
lot of
young,
people pretty
healthy,
hard.
30-some-year-old guy,
Yeah,
athletic.
they hit everybody pretty hard. Then you got the jury finds Trump organization guilty. Out of New York. I did hear the one of the lead prosecutors in that case talk about it, but yeah, so that's coming up. Um, I mentioned to you. Well, we'll go back into that a little bit. You got anything to say about that, right quick?
Well, I want to talk about his chances, if it's going to affect his reelection campaign or not.
Yeah.
That's the obvious question, and we all, I think, saw this coming, and it's not a surprise. Not a
Yeah.
surprise, probably to Trump.
Yeah.
So, um, I think it's really significant.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think we've ever seen this. Maybe back in the days of 100 years ago in presidential politics, but to have a former president, his organization, his business organization, guilty of tax fraud,
Right.
that's significant,
Yeah.
and
Big, and that that leads into the people I've spoken with, the Democrats, reelecting Raphael Warnock in the runoff because Herschel Walker was Donald Trump's last puppet to run for a seat.
mm,
So yeah, it's gonna be big. You know, we saw the writing on the wall with that, but it was still too close for my feelings
the
on it.
election
Yeah, it was just still too close.
too close.
Yeah, um,
Well,
but
it was close in November, and there's no reason why it wouldn't be close again if you
yeah, I'm saying it
do
was
it
just
3 weeks later.
that's the point I'm making is it was too close. Period, for
Hmm.
those two people. And next we got Deion Sanders. He accepted a job in
Surprising.
Colorado, and that has caused um, a lot of division, especially within the black community. It's so weird that we see a.
Really?
I think this past year, I think
Do you
this
think people
past,
blame him for leaving?
yeah, you haven't been keeping up then, huh? Yeah,
I
a
mean,
lot of people.
but I know. Do you blame him for leaving though?
Oh, I don't blame him
I
for
know the
leaving at all.
discussion points.
I don't blame him for leaving at all. No, but there's a division there, and I understand the division. That's what I'm saying. It's like the last 2 years, and we can start going into our topic, but the end off on this is that the last 2 years, from a political standpoint and a social standpoint, I think America has got an inside view of what Black Americans think about a lot of
Hmm.
things. The last two to
Okay.
3 years, I think your guy, when I say you guys, when I say white people with eyes have been like, wow, I never knew that. Wow, is that what goes on? I think a lot of that has came out because I think over the years, we just talked amongst ourselves with it. We didn't go public with it or talk about it too, unless we were specifically asked that question in an interview or something.
Attitudes
But a
about
lot of the
police.
issues about even this Dion situation, the HBCU issue, um, people don't realize that some people never even know. Right now, people can't even tell you who the HBCUs are. People could probably
Jackson
name,
State is the only one that I can
but
mention by
yeah,
name.
but that's only because Dion went there. I mean, you heard of Grambling State, you've heard of Southern,
Grambling. I'm sorry, I've heard
you
of
heard of
Grambling.
right.
Southern.
Grambling is probably one of the biggest names in HBCU because Eddie Robinson was there forever. You know,
Yeah.
and then you got, Southern, you got Bethune-Cookman, you have, schools like Florida A&M. They're there, but the whole point is this is bigger than that. This is probably one of the biggest names or celebrity status names that you heard of coaching in the HBCUs. That's
Hmm.
what makes it so
Yeah.
relevant. And I think Black people feel that when, for first of all, if you look at a lot of other cultures, they stand by each other regardless. We have this terminology here: crabs in a bucket. One gets up top, you want to pull them down, and
Hmm.
that's a mentality that goes all the way back. Everything that happens within our community, you can always trace it back to slavery every time, no matter what the topic is.
This is
And so,
interesting.
that's
Speak
what I'm
more about
saying.
that.
A lot of these things come out are coming out more where I think in our country
So,
we are actually seeing the inside of Black family conversations. You're seeing more of that in the last 3 to 4 years,
so
and this is
you're
just
saying
one of
that
them.
people that are successful, a black American that's successful, people will want to tear him down.
Well, we
Um,
feel they're tearing them down because you're like it's almost like for Dion, for instance, there are people that feel Dion turned his back on the Black community by leaving the HBCU
right.
community.
Right.
So it looks
Hmm.
like he turns their back on them. That means his celebrity status, his networking, the back is turned now to go play for PWI. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's like, um, now you're going to bring all that attention to that school instead of ours. But also on the flip side, you got to realize this man is trying to secure his lifelong his lifelong financial security. I look at it
Huh.
from both ways. I look at it from both ways. I see both sides of the story, and I can articulate why both sides feel the way they feel. I've had this discussion that led to a bigger picture, and I can come back to Dion. But I just want to just say that leading into the rest of our stories because you can see something that's going to resemble something that's going to bring out a black the the African American perspective out of just about every one of these stories that we're going to go through. It's always going to be there until our country recognizes the disparities of race. It's going to always come out. And every one of these
Okay.
stories, Brittany Griner is a racial issue. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Sinema
Hmm.
leaving the Democratic Party evolves into a racial issue. It does. The only one that's not a racial issue is sports writer Grant Wall. But you look at the Trump situation, it's a race issue. He's calling the people prosecuting them racist because they're majority black.
Hmm.
Letitia James leads that whole group of people. He calls them racist. The people are spoken within the Democratic Party. A race issue. Two black. They only put Herschel Walker there to split the black vote. That was the purpose.
Yes. Yep.
Racial issue. Deion
They
Sanders,
tried.
a racial issue. So all I'm saying is that the world is now hearing a lot of the conversations that we don't talk about publicly. and they're coming out in the story. So we can start off at the top. Let's go and get with Christian Sinema. She's a traitor. Let's go and say it. Kick her out.
Christian Sinema is a traitor. But I'm going to start with Warnock. We'll start with good news.
Okay, let's go with Warnock.
It is my honor to utter the four most powerful words ever spoken in a democracy. The people have spoken. I want to say thank you to my mother, who is here tonight. You'll see her in a little while. But she grew up in the 1950s in Waycross, Georgia, picking somebody else's cotton and somebody else's tobacco. But tonight she helped pick her youngest son to be a United States Senator. Are you ready, Georgia? I'm ready. Stand up for workers, to stand up for women, to stand up for our children. I'm ready to build a stronger Georgia. God bless you. Keep the faith and keep looking up.
I can't remember a Senate race that was this that drew this amount of attention ever.
Yeah.
Nationally.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Because you've never seen two black people run against each other. And Georgia is a predominantly white-led legislature.
Yes.
That's a big deal. Think about
Is that it?
Think about it. I told you.
Balance of power was also the balance of power was also on the line as well.
If there was two white people running, we would have had this big stink about it.
Probably not.
Even if whether a Republican ran or a Democrat ran, this is not the only race that moved the balance of power. We've had we had two white people run for office and change the balance. I saw one help change that balance of power last time. See what I'm saying? So you got to look at the deeper layers of the story where Senator Warnock is the first black person to hold that seat. There was never been a black person to hold a seat in the Senate in Georgia, ever.
Nope.
So that's a big thing. And then you look at the way they used Herschel Walker. We all know he was being used. We know he was used. So it's like, okay, now that we know this about Herschel Walker, about how the Republicans used him, I was looking for the.
Do you feel sorry for? Did all feel sorry for Herschel Walker? Maybe
I don't feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him all because he knew what he was getting into. But I wanted to bring up his concession. I want to bring up some things with his concession speech because I've heard this.
Okay.
I'm not even truthfully. I've not listened to it. This will be the first time I'm listening to it. But
I listened to a little bit of it.
But I'm looking for a short one. Here's a little 51-second one, and people are saying this was the first time he sounded like he made. This was the first time he sounded like he made sense. He's never made sense in any of his speeches, but this one he made sense. And I understand. This is what I've heard from people who, and I mainly heard it from black commentary, that Herschel Walker looked like someone who was happy this was over. He's happy. He had a look of relief.
I just heard it. I didn't see his face.
He had a look of relief.
Heard it.
Had a look of relief because as the time went on, Republicans start pulling their money from Walker. The more and more stories came out, the less money came through. Warnock was getting record numbers of money. So the writing was on the wall that it was evident that he was a puppet for the party. I mean, it was clear. Yeah. We all saw it. So people
saw it right before our eyes.
And so we were willing to vote for, and I say we as our country, was willing to vote for a man that we in our hearts knew.
That you knew that was a puppet.
was not just a puppet, but not even qualified to be in that seat. So that's saying that 49% or 48 or 49% that voted for him
Mm-hmm.
voted for him. You've heard me say this before. Voted for him going against their best interests. When I say their best interest, he might have been going for policies because he was a puppet, but overall, as a person for that seat, is not their best interest. He can say or do anything and flip the tables on something that can change the outlook of some things with the Republican Party. We don't know what a person like when you give up. They thought the same thing about Donald Trump until he decided to go his own way. When you give somebody who does not have the skills or the knowledge, the wisdom to carry a political seat, things can go left or right, and you can't stop it because it's they're in power of making that change, that change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You never know what a person's going to do in that situation. Sometimes it's moved off emotion. So that's a dangerous situation to be in when you have a puppet. Unless you threaten his life and I'm going to kill your family if you don't vote this way, which possibly could happen. It's scary. It's scary to put somebody in a position like that.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
I'm looking for. Okay, yeah. Let me bring this up. I gotta share my screen on this one. But yeah, it was kind of it was weird. Well, let me see what I got right here.
We need sound. We're not getting sound.
Oh, there's no sound with that. Okay, let me bring this back. Share it again. I probably didn't hit the little button that says, of course, share sound. But let me see. Windows tab. Let me try from this way. Share sound.
You
Okay,
know,
here we go.
you sounded down to me, but
Who, me?
let's see it again. You sounded down to me.
Night. The political rookie thanked his supporters in a humble tone, the opposite from the one he had on the campaign trail.
The best
That's true. That's what I heard.
whole entire life is run for the Senate seat right here. And the reason I'm going to say that is I got a chance to meet all you and to hear what you guys feel about this country. And I got a chance for you guys to tell me what you do feel about this country. I got a chance to go into your homes, got a chance that you invested in Herschel Walker. And I thank you. I thank you so much.
The former UGA football player ended his short speech by saying he will never stop fighting for Georgia.
So it was like hold on. He said a lot of things that caught people's attention, and I wish they had said the things where he congratulated Warnock, and he didn't. He was more so like sounded like he was from a bipartisan perspective of saying work like the two sides should work together type of positioning on it. But they said he made sense during the speech, and I want to just say I congratulate him first of all for conceding and standing up.
I give him credit for that.
Being a man of integrity, versus some of these other people who want to not concede and still push a narrative of something being stolen. And
yes,
so I respect Herschel Walker for that.
A la Governor Carrie Lake. I'm sorry,
another
not governor.
Another bum.
She lost the race to governor, but who is still saying that the elections were a fraud. Anyways, but I think that he sounds like a lot of candidates sound when they lose. They're tired, they're worn out, they are appreciative, they're genuine, they're humbled, and I don't know what the future is for him, for someone like him.
None.
What does he do next?
No political future. There's no political future for Herschel Walker. None.
Two different people, Mark says. Yeah, you kind of see that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's necessarily uncommon for people. You get the way campaigns are these days. You get into such a into such a emotion, not emotion, but emotion. You're into a thing, and you're saying the same things, and then suddenly all this work you lose, and you're emotional.
Yeah.
And you get to see your real side. I'm not, I don't know if he's generally a bad person.
No, I wouldn't say
Um,
he's a bad part. Well, I take that back. I don't
I
know.
never got the sense that he's a bad person. I just got the sense that he was being used. And I mean, I don't know, call me crazy, but I feel a little bit sorry for him, to be honest. So I don't
Did
know.
you see? Did you see the tweet from his son after he lost?
No. What did it say?
It's deep. I gotta find it, but yeah, but it just tells you that there's some hurt there from a personal level that he has not dealt with, and this may give him opportunity
Yep.
to deal with that hurt by losing.
Hmm.
If he had won the, if he had learned, if he had won this position, it will continue family hurt.
It would validate him. Hmm.
No, it wouldn't validate anything. What I'm saying is that it will continue the hurt of the family, where he cannot address the issue.
Yes.
If he by him losing the Senate, he has time now to go and deal with family history, you know, and the family issue. That's
Yes.
something that he was avoiding before because it's kind of like you're playing two sides of it because you want to deal with your family, but yet you're in the public eye who's telling you to do this. And so he has opportunity now to just address family issues, heal family stuff. Only way this is going to not work is if he continues to run around with the Republicans that have been helping create this problem. I'm looking for the tweet that he put up.
Hmm.
It was
Interesting.
really deep. Looking for it was put up there right after the election. When was the election on the 8th or what was the election?
Tuesday.
The date of
It's
what was the
Tuesday.
date? What was that date?
It was
What
the
was the date
6th. It
on
was Tuesday.
that? I know he got a post of his mom on the 6th. He refused to talk to any journalist after 18 months of stalking. He mentions that um, talked about how his mom protected him. But I don't see the actual. He mentioned about being he was called a backstabber after getting angry and blowing up from watching his dad lie for 18 months straight.
Hmm. Hmm.
Said, but he's not a backstabber for leaving his two minor children. He kept secret to grow up without a dad as he chases more fame and power.
Hmm.
Pathetic. Raise your kids. That was on December 6th from Christian Walker. Then he said the truth. Trump called my dad for months demanding that he run. Everyone with a brain begged him, please don't do this. This is too dirty. You have an insane past. Please don't do this. We got the middle finger. He ran. That's from Christian Walker. That's on December 6th.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, December 6th, he put in there Republicans. We say we don't play with identity politics, but then you ran this man mainly because he was the same skin color as his opponent with no background other than football. A boring old Republican could have won. So
Probably.
this is
Probably.
this is what I'm saying when I was saying about the family hurt. This is family hurt that um that Herschel Walker now has a chance to heal. He can go home, spend time with his family,
Hmm.
apologize,
Hmm.
and repair those wounds
Hmm.
that have been torn open because of this. And think about this also, Darren. If it wasn't for this election, they will still be in silence together with each other about these issues.
Yes.
They might not have came out. So now that they're out, they're public, and no one wants to be publicly ridiculed. So now he has a chance to talk about this situation, and they can heal. I'm hoping and I'm praying that they heal their family. There's a lot of pain there.
Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if we ever hear from them again. So
I mean, you know what? Christian Walker reminds me of Kellyanne Conway's daughter. You don't see too many kids just go out on social media and they blast their parents, even if they disagree with them. You know,
yeah.
that's a new generation thing right there. That's a what do you call it? A Generation Z thing right there, man.
Mm. It might be. It might be. It's still pretty rare. I don't think that, you know, I think that the fact that he did that means that the wounds are serious and they are deep, and
Yeah,
there's some real things that are there. So,
yeah.
um, so just to throw a wet blanket on things, Sinema just exits the party, even though she's going to caucus with the Democrats. So it seemed artificial. It seemed planned. She had this announcement interview scheduled on CNN. That's when she did it. It just seems suspect to me. There's a lot of things probably that went on behind the scenes. Oh, the
Yeah.
Democrats picked up a Senate seat this election term. Well, we'll persuade Christian Sinema, who's pliable. You could probably mold her into whatever you want. We'll get
Yeah.
her to exit the party, and so now it's 50-49 instead of
Yeah.
51-49. So it's
Yeah.
like that's just cheap. I mean, I guess technically, technically, Bernie Sanders is an independent, right?
Yeah.
So, but he caucuses with the Democrats. So maybe this is a lot to do about nothing.
Yeah.
But Sinema has the record of being the thorn in the side to Biden's agenda, and so
Yeah.
this is just it's not a surprise. This is the way that she feels.
Mhm.
Kept saying over and over again that, oh, Arizonans are independent, and this is the way that our voters would like me to go, and this and that. But the motivation is that she doesn't want to get primaried by a
Yeah.
Democratic challenger who could unseat her.
Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
so here's a little bit more about that.
Senator Kirsten Sinema of Arizona, who has had a long rift with fellow Democrats, says she is leaving the party. In a surprise announcement, Sinema says she is registering as an independent. She said she'll still caucus with Democrats, who will hold a slim majority in the Senate, following Senator Raphael Warnock's runoff win in Georgia this week. But some in the party worry that she may further water down President Biden's social spending agenda. It's unclear if Sinema will run for re-election in 2024, but by declaring her independence, she can avoid running in a Democratic primary.
No, I don't know if there's something to that being an independent from Arizona, but it calls back to John McCain, who famously called himself a maverick,
Yeah.
and that he was independent. He wasn't beholden to any rules and a set
Mhm.
way of thinking. So maybe there is something to that. I just view her as a coward. I view her as a coward.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too. Because I mean, she's trying to hold on to power. That's all it is, holding on to power. And then not only that, you're holding on to power because this can be another last-ditch effort to support Donald Trump. Um, she would be the person that would sway his way, say it that way, from Arizona.
hmm.
And this is something that's been talked about. And so I don't know, man. It's disgusting that you would go that way so you can get another seat, and to avoid competition. You're
Mhm,
you're
mhm.
running from the competition.
Yep. Uh, One of the things that we've been following closely is the Brittany Griner situation, and this week, Brittany Griner was released.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if this was going to happen or not, but it
Yeah.
did happen,
Yeah.
and it happened this week. It happened in dramatic fashion. It was like one of those spy movies. I want to show this video because it's like right out of a movie, and
Mhm.
so it's just a short little thing. There's no talking. Just on an airplane tarmac, you know. So here it is. You know, they walked past each other, and that was that. It was straight out of
Yeah.
a thrilling movie. It's like we're gonna do a prisoner swap. The
I think that's the first time we actually
that's
got to see
exactly how
all
it
of that.
happens in real life, I guess. So
I
what's
think
that?
that's the first time we got a chance to actually see it. We've heard of prisoner swaps before.
Yes.
This is the first time we see it. So now let's break this down. This prisoner swap. So I've been talking to people all week. Well, since this happened, when she, from the 2 days ago, that people are saying why they released an un-American who wouldn't stand for the anthem versus a Marine, a guy who fought for our country. So, of course, I'm not going to let people just slide by and say things without me peeling back the layers. So I had to
Yeah,
do this.
go for it. Go.
I started off in my own community first, and we're talking about this. So I asked the question, what makes her un-American? And all people could say is that she wouldn't stand for the anthem. So I had to break it down. I said, so who's more un-American? A woman who plays for a sports team here who wouldn't stand for the anthem, which is her legal right, versus
Is that really true that she did not stand for the anthem?
it was one of the games that she didn't come out the locker room. The team, I think the girls,
So she's one of many.
she's one of many. So
So
the thing about it was that I mentioned the fact that she didn't come out the locker room and she didn't recognize the anthem because of the racial climate in our country. Now, if you want to talk about the anthem, fine. But why is it that black people kneel at the anthem? Let's talk that story. So you peel back those layers, the words of that. Let's talk about the song itself and who wrote that song. That's why black people don't stand. It's not that they don't stand because they don't like America. They're standing against what that song represented at the time it was written.
yes.
That's what that's what they're going against. So that's one layer of that story. So then we peel back another page, another layer back, and we talk about Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan was a Marine, but Paul Whelan was also discharged for bad conduct, a bad conduct discharge. No one
And
talks about that.
This is Leanne talking about that, stealing $10K.
So not only did he steal money, but I got to go back and find everything I wrote, man. It was so much. It was false statements. It was signing other people's social security numbers, like 10 different people. Larceny. It was so many things there. Boom, 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 boom was a list. Those are criminal acts. He was found guilty by a court martial. That means he's a criminal. So not only is he a criminal in the United States, he became a criminal in Russia, allegedly for espionage. Okay, this is the thing I want to break down about that. So he's in Russia for a wedding.
Multiple counts in 2008 related to larceny. Last I checked, larceny is pretty serious.
Yeah, but it's a bunch of things. Larceny, like I said, it was false
and
statement.
a bad conduct discharge.
It was multiple things. I had listed them out yesterday. It was multiple things of why he was court-martialed. So then you go to Russia. Now, allegedly, he went to Russia for a friend's wedding.
He was arrested in 2018 in Russia.
He went to a friend's wedding. Someone passed him a flash drive. The flash drive is said to have had spy material on it against Russia. He says now listen to this. Listen to these words. He said he thought the disk drive contained photos of the wedding. Two questions here. If you're at a wedding, most likely those pictures have not been transferred to any type of digital format yet. Most of the time, it's on a flat on a
BS, of course.
It's on a SD card. Your cameras take a SD card, not a flash drive. Number one, that's the first. That's the first kind of way. Red flag. Why would he be handing you a flash drive with pictures on it? And secondly, why are they giving it to Paul Whelan? He was a guest at the wedding. Why is he's not the photographer? Why is someone handing him pictures? Number two. So you look at all that. Look at all that. There's some questioning things there.
He had $80,000 in cash in a customs inspection when he tried to leave Russia. So
yeah. So who does that going to? So I'm not saying Paul Whelan is a spy. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that people are comparing Brittany Griner versus Paul Whelan. Why did they leave? Why did they bring her out? Now, my reason why Putin allowed her to leave is the fact that when Warnock won the election, that was Trump's last source of his puppet being in office. Was Herschel Walker.
Interesting that you're tying that to
that's a connect the dot because this swap came right after the election. That swap came right after the election. There was no more leverage. There was no more leverage for Putin. Putin can leverage Whelan because Whelan is a spy.
How would it have made any difference if Walker were elected? I don't understand though.
No, what I'm saying is that's still, remember, Putin and Trump with their political ties Walker is now in the Senate that can push policies from a Senate seat.
Yeah, but
That's together. You have to look at that point. What was the whole purpose
yes,
of winning the Senate seat? MAGA craziness is still out there because we got them in the Senate. We got people in the Senate right now that are MAGA lovers in the Senate. So you're adding
sure.
one more. You're adding one more that can sway votes. So you look at that. Those sway.
I'm not sure if
MAGA,
there's a connection with that, but go ahead.
no, but there is a political connection between Putin and Trump. We know that. These are my opinions. I mean, I say my opinion because why didn't the swap happen earlier? Why did it happen after the election and there was no more leverage with Walker going into office? There was
Mhm.
none there. Brittany Griner is useless to Putin. She's no use now. In my opinion, she's no use. She was already illegally arrested, in my opinion, because most of
Yes,
the people who
was.
get arrested for cannabis get arrested for a little bit larger amount, and their max penalty is 15 days. She got 9 years in a work colony.
Yeah, it was obvious that she was being made into a political football,
Yeah,
of course.
she was a political pawn in this game. So that's what I'm saying. There was no more leverage with that with Putin. But with Whelan, he can still hold that because he's holding them for espionage. That's leverage. Now, and although we got Brittany Griner back in the States, in my opinion, Putin still sort of lightweight won because he got a arms dealer back on his side.
Oh yes, yes, he did.
Now that
What
arms dealer
choice did we
may not
have? What choice
he
did
may
we
not-
have, though?
We didn't have a choice, and it wasn't our choice. Putin made that choice of who he wanted to send back. Everybody's blaming Biden for that. Biden had no call in who Putin sent. That wasn't a
I don't
United
blame
States
Biden.
decision. No,
It was
people
an
have blamed Biden though. People think that Biden had a choice. They're thinking that he's pushing this left agenda of homosexuality, so he brings her back. That had nothing to do with it. Putin
no.
decided who came.
Well,
Putin
Boot
made that choice.
was going to be out of prison in a few years, anyways.
He got
So
16.
his-
Was it 25 years he got?
I thought that he only had a few years left in whatever
thought he had-
sentence it was.
I thought
He
he had
already served 10
25.
years.
I thought he
So I
had
thought that he
25.
only had a couple years left. Okay.
Well, Whelan had 16.
Well, that was wrong then.
Whelan got 16 years. So
Okay.
they should, although I look at him as a disgrace to our military and to our country, Whelan, I feel that he is undeniably unpatriotic to our country. I feel that because like I said, a dishonorable discharge for the things that he did, we should be upset with those things for him being a military officer. So even with all that said,
So he deserves what he gets in Russia?
I didn't say that. You didn't let me finish. I said
No, I
even with
know.
all
I'm
that,
just- I'm
even with
pressing you,
all
I'm
that,
pressing you.
even with all that being said about him, I feel he should come home. He's an American. I feel he should come home.
Yes. I feel that way too.
So I
I
like
just
I said,
can't stand the way that right-wing
don't-
media is making him into some sort of hero. So, oh, he's a former Marine, i.e. he's a hero, i.e. he's patriotic, and we should care more about him than a sports star.
it shouldn't
That's what they're
matter.
doing.
They're
That's what
both
they're doing.
Americans. They're both
It
Americans. But
shouldn't
like
matter.
I
It
said,
shouldn't matter.
have you heard anybody on Fox News or any conservative news station read off his charges of why he got discharged? They don't even tell you he got
None.
discharged.
That's my point. That's my point. They are not. They're
They
not
don't tell
doing
you
that.
about that.
They're saying, oh, he's
So-
a former Marine. They don't tell you that he was dishonorably discharged. They don't tell you that he stole money. You don't
Right.
tell. So
For me, Brittany Griner was there, and there was no reason for it. She'd been going to Russia for years. She had a medical authorization for the cannabis that she was vaping.
Yep.
She had an authorization to use it. The people who get caught with more than that only serve 15 days. All that was a joke. So
it was a
felt
joke.
my heart fell for her because I don't think she purposely went in because people are using the word she's smuggling drugs into Russia.
Oh,
That's
please.
come
Please.
on, like what
could
was her
buy
purpose for smuggling a vape pen into Russia? It ain't like she took in kilos or nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah, like
ridiculous.
she's gonna sell that.
So again,
on
coming
the
back to
street or
Paul
something.
Whelan,
That's ridiculous.
if the American media would be honest and truthful about what they're saying, they can look back and say, okay, wow, Paul Whelan was a scumbag here in our military, but he does deserve to come home because he's an American. We want him back home. Well, we shouldn't sit up here and make it look
Brittany
like
Griner is
and paint this
more
picture of him.
patriotic.
Yeah,
than
she
he
stands up for her
because
rights.
he was proven to be basically a traitor, and
Well,
she
I'm
is
not gonna say
using
he's
her
a.
right. She's using her rights as an American citizen to protest. What she's
Well,
doing is American.
what makes him a traitor, though?
You wouldn't call him a traitor?
No, I just say he's a criminal in our military. I wouldn't call him a traitor. He wasn't un-American. I would say I use the term un-American versus Griner because of the fact I feel he's a disgrace to our military for the crimes that he committed in our military. I don't think he's a
You don't think
traitor.
the dishonorably discharged from the military is not
A traitor is someone
traitors?
who goes against America and sides with a foreign entity.
You could
That's not
say that is
that's
against
not what he.
America.
Yeah, but that's not what he did. I say he's a disgrace to America. I purposely use the word disgrace because I think any military officer who cheats, steals his own fellow Americans is a disgrace. And he didn't do it for another foreign entity. That's what makes it a traitor. Going against your people is the traitor.
Okay.
He didn't do that. He, from a standpoint of a national standpoint, he targeted individuals within his military. That was, to me, that target was criminal act. It's like if I went and stole something from you, doesn't make me un-American because I stole from you. It's criminal and it's a disgrace because I betrayed our relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's how it looks to me.
Okay.
Hmm?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I wouldn't call him a traitor.
But as a military personnel, your conduct is akin to your patriotism.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying
Being
you're
a
a
being a
patriot.
disgrace to the uniform, being a disgrace to others who serve and who serve honorably,
Yeah,
I think can be considered a traitor. You're trading. You're a traitor to your fellow soldiers.
yeah. I just don't. When I look at traitors, I look at traitors who go against their country for another country. That's how my interpretation of traitor, or your people to another people.
Mhm.
Like people look at Deion Sanders earlier as a
Okay.
traitor to the HBCUs, but I don't. Yeah. Anyway, I look at it more as a disgrace and an embarrassment to our military, and he should not be viewed as this honorable Marine.
Mhm.
Um,
For sure.
you
What
know,
do you
so
think
that's
about
the
Victor
story
Boot
that's been
then?
coming up.
Was it an unbalanced trade? Because they're getting back
Well,
an
it was a
arms dealer
trade.
that will probably be a threat to national security at some point again, like he
Could
was
be.
originally.
It could be, but I don't think Victor Boot want to go down that road again. I really don't. I don't think Victor Boot wants to go down that road again, in my opinion. He may still have some connections.
Why was Putin so eager to get him back then? Wouldn't you think that he wanted to deploy him again?
It makes America looks bad. He would do anything to make America look bad. Like I said, he looks like he's the winner in that situation. He gave up a basketball player for an arms dealer. That looks bad on our part. That makes us
Mhm.
look bad. That can be used as a strategy to give other people a chance to talk bad about us on a global scale. We
Okay.
can say that we put a threatening guy back out in the world. The same thing you just said. But I don't think Victor Boot. I don't think Victor Boot really wants to get back into it like that. Only way he would is if he was made to do it by Putin. That's the only way he would do it again. I mean, I think he's
Which I
more.
think that's possible. I think that's
It's
even
possible.
likely.
It's possible, but over the time he's been in jail, technology has changed, relationships has changed, world power has changed. The different things with the Taliban and these terrorist groups have changed. It's it's not the same as giving up technology secrets versus ammunition. I mean, you want to supply people with arms, but most wars now, unless they're small wars in little African sections of different areas of Africa and the Middle
Okay.
East, these little things, you're fighting with technology now. It's not really that fight is for the little stuff. The arms fighting is the little people. If he was even you look at the Ukraine war right now. That's fought with weapons because it's so close right there. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be small towns, small little wars and little communities that are going to use weapons. But it's not going to be as impactful on a global scale, in my opinion. I don't think it's necessary.
No.
When he sold weapons to the Taliban, that was different because the Taliban was all over the world. The Taliban is not like they were before. It's not the same when you had Bin Laden running the Taliban. It's not the same. I think it's different. I don't think it's as powerful as it was, in my opinion. And not only that, how many times did Putin sell to Americans? We don't know that story yet. Victor Boot, how did he target crimes toward Americans through the people he sold to? But how many Americans did he sell to? Also, you think? Arms dealer don't pick sides. An arms dealer is about the dough. He's about the money. Victor Boot didn't sell.
I don't know.
He didn't sell just on the benefit of the Russians. He sold to anybody. And there was a movie about him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage played Victor Boot. Victor Boot.
I kind of want to see that now. I didn't.
You never seen it? Oh yeah, that was a good movie. I didn't realize. I didn't realize it was a true story until recently. I didn't know that. Like Leanne said,
he does kind of look like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, like Leanne said, we sold to the Taliban, also trained some of them, including Bin Laden. Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. When it comes down to spies and global terrorism, nobody picks a side. It's all about who's going to get you over. So we're just as guilty as the Russians are. So Putin, in my opinion, won over in that trade. But I don't think from our standpoint, we shouldn't be picking sides over who comes home. We should try to get as many as we can, and we should fight just as hard to get Paul Whelan back.
I think so too.
Yeah. What else you got, man?
Well, Trump organization found guilty. Big surprise. Tax fraud.
But what did I tell you a couple weeks ago? You're going to remember this. Did I not tell you that New York was going to find him guilty before the DOJ does? You remember that story?
Yeah, of course.
You remember that? You remember that, right? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not a psychic.
You got that.
I'm not a psychic.
You got that.
I peeled back the layers, brother. I peeled back the layers. That was a layer. Right there, that was a layer to be guilty on all charges. That was a major layer because what happens? The DOJ doesn't look guilty. Doesn't look like they got to carry that weight. That weight is being carried by New York, and everybody's quiet in New York, other than people who support those prosecutors.
Well, here's a little.
And there's more charges. That. There's more charges, by the way, coming up.
There's more charges coming. Of course, there's always going to be more.
Tonight, two entities of the Trump Organization, the Trump Corporation, and the Trump Payroll Corporation found guilty of criminal tax fraud, convicted on all 17 counts, including tax fraud, falsifying business records, and conspiracy.
That is consequential. It underscores that in Manhattan, we have one standard of justice for all.
Trump was not charged, and the defense said he did not know, but prosecutors say he signed off on parts of the scheme, initialing memos like this one that prosecutors believe were intended to cheat tax officials. Experts say the verdict could make his second bid for the presidency more challenging. Prosecutors saying in closing arguments that the former president was not blissfully ignorant. Prosecutors said that for 15 years, executives at the Trump org leaned on the company to evade income taxes on rent, private school tuition, and luxury cars, and unveiled tax returns that showed massive losses, including nearly $1 billion in operating losses over a 2-year period while Trump starred on reality TV and as he was campaigning for president. A Trump Organization spokesperson reacted to the guilty verdict, saying the notion that a company could be held responsible for an employee's actions to benefit themselves on their own personal tax returns is simply preposterous.
It will certainly be appealing, of course.
Felony convictions carry fines totaling up to $1.7 million. Zoreen Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe.
So that shows us right there that, Trump is going to be is I think it's not going to hit him directly. It hits the organization, but if they continue to build more cases against him, I think it's going to come to a point where he is going to, it's going to affect his presidential run. I think all this ties, all these dots line up. You think about the dots line up because you do have the 2024 election coming up. And the more of these charges that come out, more of these allegations and things that come to result into a guilty verdict against him later, they're still going to, like I think it was Alan Bragg said that they're going to continue to do this ongoing investigation, and more things are going to come up, which is definitely, in my opinion, going to impact Donald Trump when it comes down to him running for a 2024 election. The thing about it is that also you have to realize that. What does this do for the people? What does this do for those that were the prosecutors when it comes down to their opportunity to run for a political seat? Is this going to help them or hurt them? Is it going to be a position where they do have the people behind them? Because I believe that they're going to run for something in the near future. It's just that this is a big spotlight of them in their political career. Letitia James, for instance, where can she go from this? Where can she go from here in politics? Because this is a big move for her. Is she going to be viewed as someone that the new state of New York can stand behind, or is she someone that they're going to actually just push her away? Like people, like I said, Trump is calling her the racist now because they're putting all these charges against them. So people tend to follow the narrative or the rhetoric that people spew, and I just really think that she's going to become more involved in politics after these convictions are followed through, and the charges are the sentencing is laid out. What is going to be the penalty for this? I know it was like 1.6 million, but what other penalties that just relationship wise are going to follow this? Because we know already he can't get any loans in New York as it is. He can't get any loans in the United States right now. So what other repercussions are going to come about because of this guilty verdict? And I think it's going to impact, the prosecutors and the people that was putting these charges against Trump. How are their political careers going to move forward? I'm just interested in that.
Well, I'm not sure that very many other people are going to have a role in politics. It's just Trump looks like he's out there by himself. His family is largely not by his side. So
the people who charged, like I said, like Letitia James and her group, her
oh,
team.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Is she going to run for Is she going to run for a political seat of power?
She may. She may
That's a
be able to
major.
capitalize on that.
That's a major win for her.
Mm-hmm.
That's major. You know what I'm saying? You ever known of a president to get convicted guilty of anything before they just settle? Like Nixon just said, "I give up." But they found Trump guilty of this after office. That's a win for her. She started this while he was in office.
Yeah.
He talked bad about her. He called her names and everything, and then she beat him in court.
I think some of it's, and she remembers that. She's going to make it personal.
That's a big
I don't
win.
blame her.
That's a big win. So that's why
yeah.
I was saying, what is she going to do moving forward from a political standpoint? Because I think that because of this thing with Trump, she does have followers. It all depends on how this affects him business wise moving forward. If it really crushes him business wise moving forward, it's a bigger win for her. If it doesn't, if nothing comes out of this, 1.6 million is peanuts. But if nothing else comes out of this case, then it's just she's gonna fade into the dust, in my opinion. But if she builds off of this victory, if she wants to build off of this victory in politics, she can.
Mm-hmm.
I think she could. She can do that.
Yeah.
That's a major win, man.
In the World Cup, I've been following the World Cup, and in following also what's happening behind the scenes, learning more about Qatar, learning more about FIFA, what goes on in the countries that bid for the World Cup and the corruption levels. And, I knew that there were migrant workers in Qatar, places like Qatar and the UAE and other places in the Middle East.
Yeah.
A lot from Southern Asia, India, Indonesia, places that have a lot of people, not enough work to go around. And so some startling stats. I mean, there's millions of migrant workers in Qatar.
Yeah,
What they build, like 8? Did they build 8 stadiums?
something like that. I haven't been
Something
keeping.
like that
I have
in the
not been
middle of the
keeping up with it though.
desert
I have not been
in
keeping up with it.
terrible conditions.
Yeah,
And of course, in Qatar, being in a same-sex relationship is illegal, so you could get arrested for it. And there was this a U.S. soccer journalist, Grant Wall, who had been covering the World Cup, who passed away during a match, while covering the match. I have 2 different videos here. One is about the story. One is they're both short. One is from his brother. So.
We're also following a developing story in the World Cup in Qatar. Grant Wall, one of the most well-known American soccer writers, has suddenly died while covering a match tonight. Wall was covering his 8th World Cup. Now, this is video of him speaking with CBS News leading up to the tournament. He had written Monday that he had visited a medical clinic due to exhaustion. Wall drew international attention last month when he said the host country barred him from attending a Team USA match in a pride shirt due to same-sex relationships being illegal in Qatar. We'll have updates on his death and any developments to happen overnight on your 5 News this morning.
And then this is from his brother, who posted this.
My name is Eric Wall. I live in Seattle, Washington. I am Grant Wall's brother. I am gay. I am the reason he wore the rainbow shirt to the World Cup. My brother was healthy. He told me he received death threats. I do not believe my brother just died. I believe he was killed. And I just beg for any help.
Do you believe that there was something behind this?
it seems suspicious. I don't know. It looks like it's something suspicious because he was healthy. Nothing that we know of that was going on with
He was
him.
getting death threats, so
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly. I'm just really getting into this a little bit because I saw that he was arrested at one point because he had a rainbow shirt on, and they are against homosexuality over there. So I know that he
that
was.
might have made him a target. I think that might have gotten him
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
into
He
the
started,
spotlight, and made a target for
but
assassination.
he was married. He was a heterosexual male, and so I think that he might have been perceived as being gay because he wore that shirt and all the. But see, when they arrested him, he finally got let go with no issues. He got let go
Mhm.
later. So um, it's hard to say, but it does look suspicious. And then why did they pick him out of all the people? I mean, they were turning people away initially when the World Cup started because of homosexuality. So why did they target him? Why was he the target? And he's a really he's
Access.
a really
Who
known
knows?
but that's somebody we could put in the same conversations of Brittany Griner. Somebody was to kidnap him and take him somewhere to a communist country somewhere and use him as leverage because he was a known sports writer.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody know this, but he was a sports writer that covered LeBron James when he was in high school. He's the one that coined the term "the chosen one" for LeBron James. So they have a really close relationship.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have a really close relationship. He spent a lot of time in Akron uh, before and after LeBron went to the pros. And
Mhm.
so they became really cool. Then he went off into another, area of sports, which was soccer. But him and LeBron stayed close, and LeBron made a few statements the other day about him and their relationship. So this is
It
a really
it's
close,
sad
painful
and it's
person for him.
unusual that the way it happened, though. He wasn't
Yeah,
sick.
yeah,
It was during a game, and that he was covering. So it's just
yeah,
it's tragedy, and more investigation is needed, and I hope to get
yeah.
answers.
Now speaking back on Qatar, um, speaking about this was just 42 minutes ago. The European let me find it. Let me find her name. The vice president of the European Parliament, Eva Kail, has been arrested by Belgian police in connection with an investigation into the corruption that implicates World Cup host Qatar. Images show Kail defending Qatar from criticism of his labor rights record and calls out Western hypocrisy. Speaking in front of the European Parliament in November, Kelly says Qatar is a front runner in labor rights, abolished kafala, I'm not sure what that is, introducing minimum wage, and that some here are calling to discriminate against them, but still they take their gas. They have their companies profiting billions. So that's from a soundbite from another what is it, AFP news agency. But then there's another shorter video I saw here talking about the same thing. So she got arrested just like last night. And you were talking earlier about the labor issues going over in Qatar, in the area of the Middle East, and that the corruption, but yet they're making all this money because they have like I think their gas like $1.15 over there during all the high gas prices around the world. But it's the corruption is everywhere, and you were talking about this earlier about the corruption. So this is saying how this European vice president over there, Parliament, was trying to defend, and why are you defending Qatar now, right, with their corruption?
Yeah, but I mean, there were hundreds of people that died while they don't even know. Like between 400 and 500 migrant workers died preparing for this.
Yeah.
How can you support this and go through with this? Think about that.
Yeah.
People died in unsafe, unsanitary working conditions to build stadiums so that you can host a sporting event.
Well, the West, like I said, this lady, she's pushing back against, what is that? What is the connection there? What is her skin in the game to defend Qatar? What would be her? What is she defending them for? What is there? You know what I'm saying? Got to be something.
Money behind the scenes. They were paid.
Yeah, but so I'm sure they're gonna dig deeper into this whole situation.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I think the world's gonna move on and look the other way.
No, those who are, well, you could. It's just because why they arrested her? Belgium arrested her. This is not going to go away. She's been arrested.
Yeah, but are you going to hear about it?
I just told you about it. So it's
I know, but
is
there going to be a follow now that once the World Cup is over?
Okay.
Is there going to be a follow through with worldwide media that's going to care enough about soccer, about FIFA, to follow up on these things?
Well, people are talking about it. I'm gonna play something for you. People are talking about it right now. The corruption over there, and let me see if I can pull this up for you. That's why I think that it's not going to go away. People are tired of seeing more rich people get away with stuff, and this is one of those prime examples. This is a YouTube video, and we'll see. And I don't have no audio on that.
Sound.
We're doing a live shot from Qatar for the 2022 World Cup, and authorities did the following.
We are live on Danish television, og der kan I se, nu bliver vi stoppet med at filme, og det er forholdene her. Mister, you invited the whole world to come here. Why can't we film? It's a public place. This is the accreditation. Okay. We can film anywhere we want. There are only, of course. Only for the Qatar. No. We don't need permit. No, but you can break the camera. You want to break the camera? Okay, you break the camera. Okay. So you're threatening us by breaking the camera.
The World Cup is clearly off to a great start because of corrupt former head of FIFA, Sepp Blatter.
The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
Which we'll dive deeper into in mere moments. First,
it was quite stressful. I mean, I didn't felt threatened at all. I mean, personally, but our camera is safe. And of course, I covered World Cups before, and I don't know what I did expect, but I guess I didn't expect that doing a live in front of a roundabout, not in front of a migrant labor camp, or anything else controversial, it wouldn't be a problem.
The reporter Rasmus Tanthold spoke on it to Football Daily.
Of course, I was surprised, and we were sitting there with the security guards after the live for about 30 minutes. I don't know if we were detained or if we just had to sit and wait there with them. And after half an hour, the supervisor, he came and he looked at our accreditation and he said, well, you can film, there's no problem. So, I mean, maybe it's a kind of a misunderstanding, but to me, it also shows how Qatar is when there's not a World Cup going on.
TV2 reporter Tanthold,
Exactly.
part of a live broadcast when he was approached by security staff that had appeared on a golf buggy next to the newly opened hotel at Katara Cultural Village. A group confronted the Danish network while they were producing a piece and ordered them to stop filming. The Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, who are the local organizers of the tournament, have now released a statement and conceded that the crew did indeed have the correct permits to film and issued an apology. As the exchange went on, though, it got more and more heated. Tanthold was filmed showing the men his permits, but they appeared to imply that he didn't have the correct one. It was at that point that one of the officials threatened to damage the camera they were using to film. The first official then began grabbing the camera again, with Tanthold approaching him. He appears to say something to the reporter, who responds, "You want to break the camera? Okay, you can break the camera. So you were threatening us by smashing the camera?" Tanthold will go on to say the following, which I completely agree with. But at the same time, it tells a lot about what it is like in Qatar. There it is, that you can be attacked and threatened when you report as a free media. This is not a free and democratic country. My experience after visiting 110 countries in the world is the more you have to hide, the more difficult it is to report from there. So if somehow unaware...
So just basically getting back to the corruption part, why is there so much secrecy? Then you look at them winning it. That was a Switzerland leader of the FIFA
Yes.
who
Who
read the
made that
name off.
announcement.
Again, I think this is all going to go about with coming down with trade and oil and all that stuff. I think because like these countries are getting can get this oil from Qatar, and they're already the prices are high everywhere, but in these small countries where the oil is being made at, where the oil supply is great. And like I said earlier, Qatar had like $1.15 a gallon gas. If you can control oil like they can, these different areas, you're gonna keep building these relationships. Just like here in our country, the gas prices are high, but yet easily we can lower the gas prices if the gas manufacturer would just lower the price. They're holding on to their own and want to use the foreign oil at a higher price. It's just all about money. And I think this is going to come down to the money part, to allowing them to have this World Cup, and also it's going to give them to continue those relationships. Now, the labor issue of it, you were saying they're going to let it pass by.
I just sort of marvel at what kind of place this is.
Well, you mentioned about the labor.
90% of their workforce. Hold on, 90% of their workforce is foreign workers. Think about that.
Yeah, but that's why you were saying earlier it's going to just brush over. It will brush over because of these relationships from these other countries, yes, but it's going to be because it's a money factor. Remember, I was asking you earlier, like, what is the skin in the game for that lady from the European, the vice president of the European Parliament, to defend Qatar? Why would she defend them? And we were like, I don't know. So then after I started looking through, we're looking at the oil issue, the migrant issue. Okay, Qatar can continue their corruption with the labor issue if we continue to work and trade with them from an oil standpoint.
This just gets me because the oil factor is a national security issue for this country, and yet it's seen as a patriotic thing to drive a gas guzzler, when it's the opposite thing. We want to be how come the tagline of being energy independent is not being thrown around anymore? Why?
Not sure.
Is that not a thing? Why is that not a thing anymore?
Should be.
This is important.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we can't still produce oil. We can do that in our country, but it is a national security issue. We are supporting a regime like that through our economic choices and the
Yeah.
economic system that we have here in this country.
So you agree that we got to look deeper into this
We
some
are
more, then, right?
supporting injustice when we supposedly stand for freedom and justice around the world.
Yeah.
And we fight on behalf of these countries. We
Yeah.
fight on behalf of Saudi Arabia. We fight on behalf of Kuwait when they were invaded. We went
Yeah.
marching over there with guns blazing. Why is that?
Can't tell you, man.
So
It's hard to say.
it's unjust, and it's just amazing to me that a place like this exists.
Yeah.
It's just completely off the reservation. It's just
Yeah.
way outside.
We're staying in that sports vein a little bit. We
We're
got
gonna go to Coach Dion here.
we got Deion Sanders here leaving Jackson State to go to Colorado.
Yeah, you have a lot of thoughts about this.
Well, I just look at the fact that I see both sides of the story. I've been like going back and forth with people like so long, and there's a narrative that can be true, which I believe it is true, that the alumni of these HBCUs don't donate enough money to keep the money flowing in HBCUs. But the other side of that picture is that they do not get the money from the state. Each of these states don't get the money like they should. Also, they're sending them to other schools. So it's a big thing. That's why you see a lot from a political standpoint with money being sent over. Like Trump, supposed to put money together for HBCUs. Biden is doing the same thing because they know the money factor is not there. Then you look at
but I'm not sure that money flowing into HBCUs is going to keep someone like Deion Sanders.
Well, it would.
as a
It would because
coach
he would
in
have
their
to.
program.
Well, it would
It's
because
not.
it would make them more competitive. If they were able, if you had a school like Grambling State or Jackson State that were able to compete on the level of Ohio State, the thing about it, the money factor is not there. The money's not there. The money's never been there. So you think
Is
about
that realistic for them?
no.
I'm not trying to put them down. I'm just saying, so there's going to be football schools, there's going to be basketball schools that are always going to be good. And
I get
Ohio
that.
State's one of them. USC is one of them. In basketball, it's going to be Duke. It's going to be North Carolina. It just is. It's going to be Kentucky.
But
So is
take
it
a school that's
realistic
lower.
to expect that Jackson State is going to be going to the football playoff? Is it
No.
realistic for them,
If
for
you
that
had
program?
if you had the money in those schools, like Deion Sanders making $300 and some thousand at Jackson State. Do you realize that out of the he's a head coach getting paid low the 51st highest paid player, in college football is a defensive backs coach. Forgot what his name is. He makes $300 and some thousand, the equal to what Deion is making, who's a head coach. That shows you the disparity of income, of money that's coming into these schools. This guy's, like I said, the 51st highest paid coach is a defensive backs coach in a powerful in
But this
a
kind of
predominantly white
irks me.
school.
This kind of irks me. I don't mean to be a contrarian because I like.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, I support HBCUs. I like Deion Sanders, but if a college, if a university, an institution like Jackson State or Grambling State, Florida A&M, if they're going to get more money, should it go to their football program? No. Why should it go to your
No,
football
it should
program?
go to the
It should
school.
go to academics. You should go to the school who should distribute those funds the way that they see fit. And I think the best
Right.
use of those funds would be to improve the facilities and academics rather than go towards a football team.
It's not just a football team. We talk about the schools in general. The dorms are horrible. We talk about schools in general. So my point was that do the alumni donate as much or at a high level like predominantly white institutions donate?
Why don't they? Why don't they?
That's the issue. That's the issue I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't have the answer to why. I'm saying they don't. It's obvious that they don't. So the thing about it is that's where the issue starts. If I was a person who wanted to donate, if I was an organization or a company I was General Electric, I'm Ford, I'm Chevy, whoever, and I want to donate $1 million and so to an HBCU, and I'm looking at what do their own school donate? What do their own alumni donate? Why would I want to give all my money to a school when their own people don't even donate? That's an issue right there. So when I say support, I think people within the Black community should support HBCUs more, whether you went to one or not. Support, because that's our own. Other people do it. So then you look at also, there's a head start with the predominantly white schools. You take Brown University. Slaves actually built Brown University. So that's how far back that goes. Let's give you an example. So you have schools that have been around for centuries, and they have built the equity and the money within those schools. So a Black college is not going to be able to compete, and I don't want them to compete on that level. I want them to just compete within, just put enough money in more than you did last year to make your school a school that is continuing to build upward. Deion Sanders went there and gave up half the salary to make his football players have a better place to play, and the amenities are better. You go to a school like Ohio State, they got the best doctors, the best therapists, the best training rooms. So these schools, if you want to compete, you may not be able to compete with Ohio State, but make the school better than it was. You don't need a Deion Sanders to make that school better. He brought attention to it. But their own people should make it better. So I've had these arguments with people all week because I don't fault Deion for going to Colorado. He went there because they paid him $5 million. He has opportunity to coach, but he has opportunity to bring Black coaches up under him, which give them opportunities to branch out. That was his whole role. He did that at Jackson State. He brought attention to it. He made the city better. He made the school better. The thing about it is that, are they going to bring somebody in behind him that's going to keep the progress going forward? Not just Jackson State, but all the other schools. You got an Eddie George at Tennessee State. I have not heard the changes that have been made at Tennessee State because of Eddie George. I have not heard yet. I'm sure there has been some, but I haven't heard about them. So, what's going on with these schools? You got Hugh Jackson at Grambling. Are they bringing in their network to make that better? Deion's network was so strong that when they had long flights, he networked with American Airlines to allow them to fly on American Airlines. That's networking. That's Deion's networking.
Yeah, I'm not sure why HBCUs don't get more funding. Listen to some of these are just some of the alumni. Oprah, Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, Jesse Jackson, Stacey Abrams, Chadwick Boseman, who has passed, Kamala Harris, our vice president. Notable sports stars to astronauts. These are quality. Wanda Sykes, a comedian. There's people from all kinds of walks of life that have gone to HBCUs. So, is it a state funding issue then?
Yes, definitely that, and their own alumni, but it is a state funding issue. Now, you think about it. You just named a handful of people who went to HBCUs who probably do donate. They're probably the largest donators at their school. Think about that. They could probably donate millions.
Toni Morrison, Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall.
But let's listen to what you're saying. That's probably the highest donor of their school. When you go to a school like Ohio State, where there's several millionaires who can donate. You see what I'm saying? There's a big think about this. Think about job disparities, income disparity. We talk about the wage gap, all the time in America. So say you take the highest paid surgeon out of Grambling State, right? A Black guy, whoever that is, I don't know who it is. Just imagine the highest.
A surgeon doesn't make the kind of money that like someone like a Jerry Rice, Doug Williams, Ben Wallace.
I'm just giving you the example. We talk about you're naming one person. These
people are national icons.
But you're missing the point. That one person can make millions. But we're talking about an alumni over centuries, over decades. That's true. That's one person. So that's why I use the word surgeon, because we know Grambling State probably has several surgeons that graduated from Grambling. Or you can take Morehouse. Morehouse has probably the most scholars. Take Morehouse. I'm sure there's a lot of doctors and lawyers that come out of Morehouse, right? You could assume a lot of doctors and lawyers come out of Morehouse. Put those salaries of those doctors versus the doctors and lawyers, that come out of the University of Michigan. Would there be a big pay disparity, do you think? Because most likely, there are white doctors coming out of Michigan and lawyers, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you take this white doctor from Michigan. Is the highest paid doctor or lawyer out of Michigan or Ohio State or USC? Imagine their pay versus a person that came out of Grambling, Morehouse, Jackson State, Southern, any Alcorn State. Their pay most likely is significantly higher if you know how the wage gap works in America. Would you agree or disagree?
That's probably true.
Okay. So if it's probably true, that means that not only for the highest paid person, that probably goes across the board, that you could say majority of predominantly white institutions, their professionals are making more than those coming from a predominantly black college. That means that's more money from the predominantly white organization that they can donate higher larger money to their for their alumni back into the school. That's because there's a wage disparity in our country. That's one of the things. So my argument is we know that. So do not try to compete with these other schools. I want you to just do your best at what you have to make your schools better. They don't have to be as good as an Ohio State, but make them better than they were last year is all I'm saying. Make them better so a person like Deion Sanders doesn't have to come in, get minimum pay, and then have to pay half his salary to keep your school looking good. The alumni should be doing that. But then the state also needs to pay. So listen to this. The data shows that America's 100 HBCUs have been underfunded for decades. Data shows that between 1987 and 2020, 18 land grant HBCUs were underfunded to the tune of $12.8 billion. Versus that's going against what predominantly white schools get. This is money that's coming into the school. The endowments are low. The number one public HBCU is Howard University, but from a college rank in 2022, they're ranked at 109. Spelman 126. Xavier University of Louisiana 383. These are public funded schools. These are public schools. Why aren't the money coming into them from the state? That's been an issue.
There was a federal bill signed for $2.7 billion recently.
Now split that up amongst all the HBCUs. How much is that?
Not a lot.
That's not a lot of money.
It's not a lot. It's a drop in the bucket.
That's what I'm
but
talking
it is
about.
something. So
yeah. So I think that the alumni need to do better in supporting, and I think that the states need to do better in spreading that money out like they should. And that's been an issue for centuries. And I'm not saying that you're going to automatically in the next 5 years have a school like Jackson State on the level of these other schools. I'm not expecting that at all. I don't expect that to ever happen. Oh, excuse me. But I expect for them to help themselves and also for the states to put that money in the right hands like they're supposed to.
So, if specifically about Deion going to Colorado, I think that's a positive for him. I think it's a positive for, obviously Colorado, whose program has been on hard times for a long while now.
Yeah.
And I think that, let's be honest, black coaches, a lot's been said about black coaches in the NFL, but not enough is said about black head coaches at the university level, at the Division I level. So I think that this is significant and important. I think he's going to do well. Who knows? We could see prime time as an NFL head coach. I mean,
now there's
he's
a student.
not old.
There's a quarterback from down here where I live at. He's in Melissa, the next city over from me, like literally 5-minute drive. He's pretty decent quarterback, pretty good quarterback. He was I can't think of his name right now, but he's a quarterback who just got into the transfer portal before Dion came. And I understand he wants to come back now. But I was talking to a friend of mine here who thinks that he's better than Shador Sanders. And my opinion was that I don't think that he is, because I can't imagine Dion publicly saying I'm bringing my son as the quarterback unless he knew and felt that his son was a better quarterback than the current starter. Because then, you can because if he's not better, it looks bad. I think he should have just kept his mouth shut on that personally. I don't think he even should have said that, who he was bringing. That's a lot of
but
ego
he's
and
Deion
bragging.
Sanders, so
Right. So I like the opportunity he's bringing to bring him and his staff, and opportunities for other black coaches to the to Power 5 schools. But also think about this strategy also. I'm always peeling back layers. You hear me say that quite often. So I'm peeling back the layers of this Dion move to Colorado, because you question, why did he pick Colorado? Why did he pick one of the schools that's going through financial issues as well as a winning issue? Why did he pick that school? My answer is he knows that he can bring recruits, number one, because he's Deion Sanders. He proved that he can coach at every level, from high school level to the college level with Jackson State. Then he goes to Colorado, which is a Pac-12 school. What two schools are leaving the Pac-12?
honestly, I don't know, because all this is confusing now. So, what two
USC,
schools are leaving?
USC, and UCLA, two of the top
They are?
schools in the Pac-12, are going to the Big Ten. So
What?
if they're going to the Big Ten,
They are?
they are.
USC in the Big
USC,
Ten?
yes.
That sounds like a sacrilege to
Go
me.
ahead and look it up.
What is
USC
going
and
on in America
UCLA
that
to
USC is going to
Big
be
Ten.
in the Big Ten, a
So
Midwest
both
conference?
USC and UCLA would become full members of the Big Ten in 2024 after an all-season move that changed the structure of college sports. There I have it. Now, after peeling back the layers,
Wow.
so we're going to just do this
Wow.
right quick. We're going to just pull up the Pac-12 right quick. Let's pull up the Pac-12. Who are in the Pac-12 right now?
I can tell you, it's Washington,
Pac-12.
Washington State, Oregon, Oregon State. It's Cal, Berkeley. It's Stanford. Right now, at least, it's UCLA and USC, Arizona State, Arizona, and now Utah is a recent addition in the last 6, 8 years.
So
In
right now,
Colorado,
right now, Utah has won the championship, the conference championship, the last 4 years.
Has it been 4 years?
I think it's 4 years. They
Wow.
won the
Okay.
Pac-12
I know it was
championship.
last year. Okay.
Okay, they won the Pac-12 championship. So right now you have let me see something for a minute. So I'm looking at the standings. You have USC, who's there now, who won the conference. They lost the conference to Utah, but they were the highest winning percentage in there. Oregon has been on top for several years. Oregon has been pretty good there.
Yes.
So it's been a while since these other states have dominated. I mean, at one time, Stanford was really good there. At one time, you had Arizona that was up there. It's been years. So now you take USC and UCLA out of the picture. Does this not give Colorado a great opportunity to start leading that conference with Deion Sanders?
Yes.
So he goes in, he takes the Pac-12. He wins the Pac-12, say 1 out of 3 years, maybe 2 out of 3 years. He proves he took a team that's 1-8, who's been at the bottom of the cellar for decades. We're talking decades. I don't remember anything about Colorado since Eric Bieniemy ran there. That's how long I kept up with Colorado. Think about their prevalence in college football has been decades. So they come up from the bottom of the cellar, take over the Pac-10. What does that move Deion Sanders next? To a top Power 5 school. He possibly could then go lead Florida State, which is probably his goal. That's connecting the dots, peeling back the layers. So those are when I look at
going back to the question. I mean, you don't blame him for this. I don't think you can. I don't think that people should be criticizing that he's turning his back on Jackson State.
But that's how people feel. I mean, that's how people feel. If you look at the black community, as soon as you get someone who's supporting the black community, doing something great for them, and they go work for a white organization, then
If you were
the
in his
narrative,
shoes, what would you do?
I'll do the same thing.
Exactly.
I already proved, but
I
what
would
I'm
do the
saying is,
same thing.
but you're looking at the person who's making the move. I'm telling you why people feel that way. That's in that community. They look at we finally are getting the positive of things, and
Except
then you
that they
take
don't.
it away.
Except that they don't support the way that they should support. You said it yourself.
I agree.
You're not
I agree,
supporting the
and
Jackson States like they
and
should support the Jackson States. It's
that's
an
my issue.
afterthought.
Like you look at a school like Texas, could probably you have a fundraiser dinner, $250. You have a fundraiser dinner at Jackson State, they're complaining about $50 plates. It's like support because you will go to another restaurant or another organization to support, and you'll pay those top dollars. Black people, I don't know if you know this or not. Black people are Black Americans are the highest spenders in our country. They spend like $1.2 trillion a year. The money is there to support HBCUs. It's do you choose to support HBCUs? That's my issue. I wrote a post the other day. And I directed this to people who were opposing Deion Sanders. And that wasn't a post, it was a comment to another post. And I said, if you are opposing Deion Sanders and you do not consistently support Black banks, Black businesses, mentor Black youth, participate in their educational system, do not support Black organizations, and do not invest in Black businesses. Put your money toward their business to help them grow. You have no room to complain about Deion Sanders doing this to make it better for himself. He's making a path for himself and other people.
1,000% accurate. Yeah.
And so being a person had a good friend of mine. I'll just be straight. It's the president of the gun club I'm a part of. She's an HBCU graduate who supports Grambling State. She financially supports them, and she goes to all their events and everything. And we had a conversation because it actually started off as an argument, as a debate back and forth, because of my statement that HBCU alumni need to support more, need to give more money. And she said, we do give. And I said, you can't speak from a personal perspective. We're talking about a collective perspective. And I said, not only should alumni give, I think the Black community in general should give. All of us should be giving. And to make those schools better, because that's our legacy. And so she went back and forth with me. We went back and forth for like 2 days, trading videos to support each other's stance. And we came to this conclusion. I told her, I said, you know what? I said, we need to start supporting as a gun club. What if we sat down as a leadership team, came to think of ways that we can support our community? It doesn't have to necessarily be HBCUs, but be a staple in the community to where we are actively supporting an organization of some sort or mentoring students to show this is who we're lifting up and we're bringing up the next generation. Let's do that as a Black organization ourselves and be an example so that when we have these arguments and we complain, we can say we're doing it. Because that list that I put down about supporting Black businesses and banks, you've heard me talk about this before. I got a check mark by each one of those. I supported in the educational system. I mentored the youth. I support organizations. I support Black businesses. Remember the 2020 blackout? We went on a blackout of all these major companies, these box stores, to support Black businesses. So I'm a contributor of that. I've been there and I want to do more. So again, my income is not like a Oprah Winfrey or Spike Lee, but my little bit is trying to contribute.
That's
and
great.
I think that we need to expand on that. And I don't think Deion is doing a bad thing, but I do not like the way he did leave, though. I think that could have been done in a better way. The way he left could have been done in a better way. And I think all the talk and all the bravado behind that, I'm bringing my staff, if you want to go to the transfer portal, you can. All that talk is unnecessary, in my opinion. I think that it could have been done in a more humble sense. But, again, we're talking about Deion. There's only one Deion.
So I think this is common for a lot of supporters of college sports programs, that in my observation, my limited experience of living in Columbus, Ohio, they treat the Ohio State football team as if it were the Columbus Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Like they have a stake in it. When they never went to the university, they're not giving money to the university.
Yeah.
Yet they are the ones criticizing Eddie George as a freshman when he fumbled the football,
Right.
or they're the first ones to to bash a player that gets in trouble, driving home at night or whatever it is,
Mhm.
uh, they'll be the first and loudest voices to criticize a team that they have no stake in, that uh, they have
That's
no
just a
right
fan.
to
That's
they
a
have no
fan.
right to criticize. If you do not support them monetarily, if you're not an alumni, then you don't have any right to do
Well,
that.
I'm not gonna
No,
say
it's
that. They're a fan.
they are
They're a
not
fan.
professional. These are not professional people.
Yeah, well, they're speaking from a fan perspective. The thing with the HBCUs, they're not speaking about it from just a fan perspective. They think they're speaking it from a cultural
Okay, I
perspective.
get that. I get that.
You
I
know,
get
so
that.
so to say a person who's a fan of Ohio State and you criticizing the team but not spending money on them, that's different
Yeah,
different
I'm
perspectives because
talking about a certain ugliness that's there. I'm not talking about you.
oh yeah,
You have a healthy perspective on being a fan of
yeah,
Ohio State football.
right,
There are people, and I know that you know them,
yeah,
and have met people like this who are so obsessed with it that it gets ugly
yeah. I agree. I
in
agree.
their criticism
Mhm.
when they're booing players and shit like that.
Like you did
And
last week when you were when you
excuse me for
like
my French, but I have
like
little tolerance for that.
is that
You know,
like you did last
these
week?
what's that?
Is that like what you did last week?
It could be. I'm an alumni of Ohio State. I give money to Ohio State though, and
No. I'm saying when you put them down.
I don't think I'm unhealthy about it. I was just angry. I was just angry that
They lost.
I'm not angry at any player though. I'm not angry at a
I
coach.
know.
I'm not booing them.
I'm just picking
I
with you,
just was
Darren.
bitter about it as a fan for a little bit.
I'm just picking with you. I'm
I
just
get
picking with
you. I get you. I'm just like, hey, uh, I'm an alumni.
Yeah.
Do I have a stake in this? Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You do.
So I mean, it's just like I think I have a healthy perspective with Ohio State football
Hmm.
in a healthy relationship like that. Um, I was mad for about a week that they lost in the way that they lost.
Yeah.
I'll say
Understand.
that.
Hmm. I get it.
So
I understand
that's
that.
all. That's all.
Yeah. No, I
But you're
get it. It
right.
was
You're right. I was fan is short for fanatic.
yeah.
It's not logical. It's not reasonable.
See,
So
I
anyways,
had
you're right.
less stake in it than you. I'm just a fan. But I have family members that graduated from Ohio State. But I looked at it where I still had hope of them backing into the playoffs, and I'm glad it came true that they can back their way in because great
Well,
universities like USC lost. USC is a great institution. They lost
I know
and allowed us to get in.
it's not a sports show, but yeah, I mean, I got thoughts on this, and I think that the college football playoff needs to be expanded, and then all this would just go away.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Expand it
All
like
this sort of no one's gonna criticize Ohio State for being number 4 if there's 12 teams in the playoff. It's like,
right.
okay, that's just the seeding. Now
Well,
that there's just 4 seeds,
who
people are
else
gonna
was going to
say
go?
people are
Who else
gonna
could have went? Who else could have went in that spot? Look at it. No one else
people
was
point at
qualified.
Alabama and how they lost. They lost close games
2 games.
versus how Ohio State got blown out at home. So this is an argument that people put out. I don't agree with it. That's what I hear,
Yeah, but that's
and
2
it
games.
annoys me. It's just annoying.
Alabama lost 2 games though. That's what I'm
They
saying.
lost 2 games, but it was in the
Yeah,
way that they lost those games, though. Look it
2
up.
games is 2 games.
I'm with you. I'm with you, dude. I'm 100% with you. It's
Yeah,
like, but in college football that the way you lose games is important.
yeah.
It's not just losing games.
Oh yeah, but we also look at
TCU
how.
lost the game,
But
but how did they lose?
Alabama
How
had
did they
close
lose? They
games.
lost a close game in overtime.
Ohio State has blown teams out all year, where where Alabama had close games all year. All the games were pretty close. So that's where I'm like, well, they're just to me they're an average. They're right up there, an above average team. And when you come down to what other team could have been in that position, Ohio State was the best team to leapfrog USC into the playoffs. They were in the best position, and so that's why I look at it as there was nobody else. So people are upset. It was the best opportunity. USC didn't need to be there. You could argue Utah could have leapfrogged, right?
With 3 losses, though.
But were they good? What were they losses like? Were they like Alabama losses, or were they blowouts? And Utah beat number 4. You know what I'm saying? Who did Alabama rank in the top 4?
This is why there should be a playoff.
Well, I'm
This
not
is why there
disagreeing.
should. Then we get to play Alabama. Utah would get to play TCU, whoever.
Yeah,
This is why we should expand it.
I think it should go to between 8 and 10 games. I don't want to go
kind
too
of
much
like
more
the
over
12
that.
team. I like that. I like either 10 or 12 because then you reward those teams that are the top seeds. They get a bye.
I'm not worried about the bye as much. The bye it's already late into the season. You got that whole break between Christmas and New Year's. You know what I'm saying? It's like no one's playing really.
They could
You
be
don't
playing
start
games right now.
right. But then that's going to be 2 or 3 weeks of football, 2 or 3 extra weeks of football, and you don't need that really this
That's a
late in the
good
season.
thing.
Not really, because then you got
No?
the
Why do we need? Okay, here's the
look how
question.
late look
Why
how
do we
late the
need?
championship. Look how late the
Why do we
championship.
need Ohio State to play Toledo every year?
I agree.
Why?
We don't need that.
We don't. I don't need to see that.
But
I
it
don't need
brings
to see
money.
them beat
No, but it's
Kent
not
State.
about. But it brings money to those schools, though. That brings money to those little schools. They get money off of those games.
I know that.
That's
It's
that's the
important for those Kent State and
that's
Toledo's to come
exactly.
into Columbus and lose 56-7. And you're like, why are we doing this? Who does this benefit?
In that case, I would like to see more HBCUs in those early games. I would like to see
Why
them
not?
compete. I would like
Let's
to.
bring in Jackson
I
State.
mean,
We could bring.
yeah,
We could see the number 1 recruit in the country go up against a Michigan or an Ohio State.
so you
Now
put a
that would be
central.
exciting. I would tune into that game.
Yeah, you put a Central Michigan, a Kent State in there. They get blew out every year, right? So
Yes.
if it's going to be a blowout a team that could use the money. Jackson State could use
I
the
mean,
money more so than a Kent State.
my point is that we don't need 4 games of preseason, basically preseason football,
Right.
pre-Big Ten football. We don't need that. What I would rather see is Ohio State play Utah. Now that's exciting in a playoff format.
Yeah.
Winner
That'd be
take
good.
all. Winner advances.
That would be
That's
good.
exciting.
I would like to see that. I want to see more competition. I think there needs to be more competition in these playoffs. Like last year, Cincinnati got there. They deserved it. But we knew Cincinnati was going to get their butts kicked. You know?
One of these
So
years, a TCU or Cincinnati or
I was
a
pulling
team
for
Central Florida is going to break through.
I was pulling for
It's
TCU this year,
going to
though.
happen someday. What's that?
I was pulling for TCU. I wanted to see them do it because they've been in the top rankings for the last few years.
Well, here's
in
the
that
thing
division.
about TCU. They're in the Big 12.
Right.
It's not like they're not in a power conference.
Yeah.
They
Here's a good conference.
just got into that power conference in the last couple of years, but still, it's not like TCU isn't. It's not like TCU is Appalachian State.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No, but what I'm saying with TCU is that you don't have your biggest competition is Oklahoma. That's been the biggest competition over the years. In that conference. You have Baylor that came up and they've been up and down when they had Bryles. Is he still the coach there? At Baylor. So you have Baylor. Oklahoma
No, I
State
don't
had
think
their
so.
flashes. You got Texas. Texas hasn't been relevant they are there, but they haven't been really all that relevant. They're getting
Yeah,
better.
Texas has been disappointing.
Kansas State is good for an upset every now and then.
Kansas was there. Wasn't Kansas like 12-1 one year?
Yeah, then West
Missouri
Virginia.
sometimes was, yeah.
West Virginia was like at the top of the conference, some years ago.
Well, what
Back in the day,
West Virginia is a new addition to the Big 12. They used
they
to be
were
in
in
the Big East, I think.
the Big East, or was it the ACC? Was it Big East?
One of those two.
Yeah. So you look at it right now. TCU has been up there the last couple of years, and Oklahoma's been there at the top. So that conference is
Oklahoma
pretty.
State's been relevant.
Yeah. So they've all been pretty. That's a pretty competitive team. You can look at their schedule. I mean, TCU was 9-0 or 12-1 overall, but everybody else outside of Kansas State, which was 10-3, everybody else was like 8-4, 7-5, 6-6. It's pretty kind of. There's some. They're all pretty much equal in that conference. So TCU's going to be there for a minute. I think they got good coaching. They have a great team, in my opinion. I just don't think they have enough to be in the playoffs just yet to be consistent.
No.
So anyway, man, what's your
Anyways,
bottom line?
yeah, we got distracted with football here.
Yeah, we weren't able to be on the
here's
we
the
weren't
thing,
able to
like,
be on the show this long today.
when they
We're supposed to be to an hour.
brought when they brought Maryland and Rutgers into the Big Ten, you saw what happened though. The Rutgers was a consistently 10-0, 10-1, 10-2 team, and then they brought them into the Big Ten, and they haven't been relevant.
But Maryland gotten better though. Maryland has a good team. Maryland has good coaching, and they continually improve. They're now recruiting good players over at Maryland. They look pretty good in my opinion. They just still got to keep building. Rutgers don't look too bad either. I mean, they're not a bad team right now. They were a good team in their conference before because they were the best team in the conference. Now they're competing, but being in the Big Ten allowed them to get better recruits.
Yeah, part of the problem with these schools is the lack of depth.
Yeah, and they're getting the TV coverage that brings money into their schools now.
Anyways, bottom line.
Yeah, what's your bottom line, man?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to. I mean, I'm interested to see the new calendar year, and I'm interested to see the election, how the election develops.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a big mystery. I think it'll be interesting to see Trump lose.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a big shift for the Republican Party. It's going to be a big shift in the sort of the oxygen level in the country.
Right.
Because I think that he'll lose. I think he's going to lose the Republican nomination. I just don't know how that's going to look and feel for the country. I think it's going to be a relief.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be healthier for our country not to be so obsessed with this one dude that sucks up all the oxygen in the room.
Right.
And so I think it's going to be an interesting year on a lot of levels. So I'm going to be watching and on the political front as things go
right
into this next year. So
yeah, man. My bottom line today is that I wish that our country would again stop taking this mainstream media surface level conversation and pushing these narratives. I spoke to you different layers of peeling back layers and connecting dots to a couple of conversations today.
Mm-hmm.
Brittany Griner is a main example, with Paul Whelan, is that we're arguing within our country over which American should have came home. We should be happy that either one of them came home. We shouldn't be having a discussion dividing the country over which one should have had a more right to come home.
Everything's partisan nowadays.
Yeah,
everything.
And it shouldn't be like that. And I think, like I said, I think Paul Williams needs to come home as well. But we got to connect these dots that if we're looking at this man as a Marine, we're not giving you the history on his, the history of his situation. So there's this perception this great Marine was left behind and we chose a basketball player. That's a bad talking point. If you use a basketball player versus a dishonorably discharged or bad conduct discharge Marine, then it's like, wow, the conversation is a little different.
Yes.
Because you're talking about who's a patriot, who's not a patriot. That shouldn't even be the conversation. The conversation should be, okay, how are we going to go in and get Paul Whelan out next? How are we going to do this? And I'm glad that he gave support for Brittany Griner, saying he was happy that she went home. But he's like, why am I still here? And that's a negotiation that's going to be between Putin and the United States. And also bring this factor up. Donald Trump had 4 years to get Paul Whelan out of there, and he didn't.
And now he's critical. Yeah, of course.
He didn't get any prisoners out. Brittany Griner went in under his watch, right? Or was it under Biden's watch?
Yes. Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. I think it was under
Biden.
It's only been this summer, hasn't it? It's just been this summer.
Okay, so
it's been under Biden's watch.
Yeah, it was during the Ukraine war. So what I'm saying is that he had a chance to get Paul Whelan out. What was the offer? What was the guy we got out earlier this year? Wasn't another guy we got out? There was a first guy that came out earlier this year. You didn't hear nobody arguing why they picked him over Paul Whelan. You didn't hear that argument. But we shouldn't be having these arguments over who gets out first. Just get them out. Just go get them out. And we are dividing our country over, like I said, this partisan conversation that's unnecessary. And we should be more united in that front and just get our people out. Okay, then you're comparing the false narrative. She's smuggling drugs into Russia. That's a false narrative. No, it wasn't. But we escaped. We run away from the idea that Paul Whelan was a spy. We got spies all over the world. He got caught. Now you look at this. We have a discharged military Marine who's an American spy. Apparently he was good at something. Then we want to question, who was he spying for? Was he an American spy, or was he a spy for an organization? Who was he spying for? We don't know. I never heard who he was spying for. So
here's an interesting point. Just a side note. Donald Trump the administration negotiated the release of 5,000 Taliban prisoners. Just as a note.
Yeah. Yep. Did they get released, or they just negotiate? Did they get released?
So releasing one Russian terrorist, maybe in contrast, not as big of a deal compared to 5,000 Taliban.
Yeah, something. So anyway, man,
we'll be here again next week, and thank you all for joining us today. And make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see what happens this week in the world, and we'll be here again talking about it and rehashing it and giving us a good discussion. So,
sounds good.
Take care, everyone. Peace.